maker friends, it's Cindy again from Candle Studio 1422, the Soy Candle Mentor. Today I want to talk about fragrance oil, particularly fragrance load. That's something that's pretty confusing for new makers, how to calculate fragrance load. So let's just jump in and talk about that in detail. So this is what you do. Say you have a pound of wax, and you want to use it all. So you have a pound of wax, that's 16 ounces of wax. With soy wax, you want to test between 6 and 10%. That's going to be your 6 to 10% fragrance load. So for new makers, I suggest starting at that 6%. It's less oil to use, and if it works out for you, end up not wasting as much oil if you test at a higher load. So 6% is where you want to be to begin. So you're going to take that 16 ounces of wax, multiply it by 0.06. That's going to give you the amount of oil you should use. Again, that's 16 ounces of wax times 0.06, which represents that 6%, equals 0.96 ounces of oil. A lot of times people will round that up to 1 ounce, so either 0.96 or 1 ounce of oil for that 1 pound of wax. If you want to start at a 7% fragrance load or even an 8% fragrance load, it's the same formula. You're going to take the 16 ounces times 0.07 or times 0.08 if you want 7 or 8%. That 7% is going to give you 1.12 ounces of oil needed, and the 8% is going to be 1.28 ounces of oil that you'll need. So simple, simple, simple. Don't overthink that. For me, I always like to have a little bit extra. So say if you're doing, I'll just use this as an example, you're doing 1 test candle. And this is a common jar that people use. It's actually a 9-ounce jar, but it does not hold 9 ounces of wax, right? So I have used this for many, many years. It actually holds 7.3 ounces of wax to the line here. So 7.3 ounces is what I'm going to base my fragrance load on. So I'm going to take my formula instead of the 16 ounces, because I'm not using a full 16 ounces, I only want to make 1 candle. I'm going to take 7.3 ounces times 0.06, which is at 6%. And that's going to give me the amount of oil that I need for the candle, which I think is like 0.58 or something like that. So again, for a 7.3 ounce candle, I'm going to do it's a 9-ounce jar that holds 7.3 ounces. I'm going to take that 7.3 times 0.06, which is going to give me the amount of fragrance oil that I need. Now, granted, 7.3, when you add the 0.58 ounces of oil in, it's going to be more than the jar holds. But that's what I like to do because I just like to have a little bit extra. It won't be a significant amount, just in case there's a spill or something. And I'm okay with calculating that waste, if you want to call it that, of that wax that I'm not going to use into pricing and just my budget and everything. So it's not going to be a lot, but I always like to do a little more just in case you spill. If you don't want to have that excess, then just take the 0.58 from the oil away from the 7.3 and then calculate it that way to give you the exact amount that will go into the jar. Okay, so again, your fragrance oil load is going to be the amount of wax you need. So in this case, 7.3 times the percentage that you want to test for, 0.06 for 6%, 0.07 for 7%. If you want to go up to 10, 0.10 for 10%. I think you get that, right? Easy peasy. So after you get the fragrance, the amount of fragrance oil that you need, your wax is heating up, right? And you want to heat your wax up. I heat mine to 185. Sometimes it goes a little bit over, but unlike a lot of instruction you get to say, add your oil at 185, I've learned over the years with 464, and I'm specifically talking about soy wax 464. This is the wax that I exclusively use, and it's also the wax that I taught hundreds and hundreds of customers over the years in my studio to use as well. So this is particular for soy wax 464. And I've learned from me, adding the oil at the high 170s and low 180s works well. So I would you never want to go above 185 because it could burn out the scent. You don't want to be too low, right? Because it may not kick out, and you may not have good synthro that way, right? So high 170s, low 180s is what works really well for me. And once you add your oil at the proper temperature, you want to start to stir immediately for 2 minutes straight. You don't want to stir super fast, not super slow, just constant movement the entire 2 minutes. You can go in different directions, just keep it moving the entire 2 minutes because we want that oil and wax to bind appropriately so that the customer and then your testing, turns out well and you get the synthro that you need. So again, calculate your fragrance oil. Make sure you're adding your oil at the proper temperature, usually high 170s, the low 180s works well for 464. You're going to stir for the 2 minutes, and then you're going to let your wax cool a bit. Now you will also see a lot of times, a lot of information saying you want to pour at 135. And when I first started making candles, when I first started using 464 rather, I did pour at 135. And in that particular space with the temperature of my space, it worked well. And then I moved into my retail store and it did not work so well. I had very lumpy, ugly tops that drove me crazy. And I realized then I needed to pour at a higher temperature. So I pour in the high 140s. Now, even in my studio I have here at home, I still do the high 140s because that's what works well in this space as well. And I never, and I'm not exaggerating a lot, I never get bumpy tops. I have not in years. I always have smooth tops. And when I use cotton wicks, I don't have problems with sinkholes either. I just lucked out. Wood wicks, for some reason, oh my God, I have to poke those candles to get rid of the sinkholes. But the cotton wicks, I have had really good luck with my process. So again, calculate your fragrance oil, what percentage you want to test for. Make sure you're adding your fragrance oil at the proper temperature. Do your 2 minutes of stirring, non-stop, not super fast, not super slow. Let your wax cool. You can try the 135 and see if that works for you. If you're finding that you're getting lumpy, bumpy tops, try pouring at a higher temperature. Let your candles cure. Now, I've learned curing, some scents really don't need much cure time. Just to be on the safe side, I do like to give it a couple of weeks before testing the scent. So I'll let it cure for a couple of weeks. And then you'll see if, you have sinkholes or anything like that. Sometimes people just want to be proactive and poke their candles before they test to get rid of the sinkholes and take a heat gun and smooth it out and fill in those holes. So that's something that'll be up to you to do. With my jar candles that I use cotton wicks for, it's not part of the process that I need to use. I do have to use it when I do my wood wicks and my handmade concrete vessels that I use that I found are more prone to sinkholes when I use the concrete and the wood wick. So that's my whole spiel on fragrance oil, the load, the temperature, and try it and let me know how it works out for you. Have a good one, makers. And if you don't mind, subscribe, like, and come back again.